Special thanks to podwars.com. Know the latest podcast and job news before others. Coming up next on Explain Why podcast.
Start acting like we're already in the fourth industrial revolution. What does that mean? The fourth industrial revolution is the data revolution. So let's start acting like we live in a data-driven world, and data is important. Baga equate your data to your life, and then it follows. Everything follows. You're going to be careful about your data. You use your data responsibly. You can actually use data pa for social good, di ba? Pero yun nga parang hindi pa siya embedded. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, it's an age thing. Yung mga bata, mga Gen Z, mga Gen A, I think they're more attuned to the data landscape. But they have to be taught in school. Samantalang for the rest of us, mga Gen X, mga boomer, to a certain extent, the millennials, na medyo kurang na, we grew up in a world before the internet. So we have a lot of realigning to do. A few of us know naman what we need to do, pero karamihan ng mga, especially the senior citizens, the boomers, they're completely clueless.
Hi, and welcome to our podcast. This is Miko Santos. This podcast feature enlightenment discussion with professionals to explain pressing issue and provide pertinent facts about unbiased journalism, countering misinformation, and an in-depth conversation with experts. Check out our newsletter at thefreemanchronicle.com. On today's episode, we're talking about data breaches, cybersecurity in the Philippines. In a recent report, the Philippines ranked 20 out of 161 countries. He is a data analyst, researcher, software developer, and technologist, advocate for data literacy, data ethics, and social impact from data. His current work focuses on human rights, public health, food security, political risk, and fighting disinformation. Please welcome to the show co-founder of Data Ethics PH, Mr. Dominic Doc Ligot. Let's dive in. Ano pong latest na balita natin dito yung sa nangyaring data breaches dito sa PhilHealth? Meron po ba tayong update doon?
Well, we've had multiple breaches, no? PhilHealth lang naman yung nauna. Yung huling balita dyan is ina-assess pa kung ano yung extent ng data na parang huling narinig ko was 20 million PhilHealth member data. At least 20, could be more. Pero yun ang datos na nakukuha natin from the authorities. At the same time, the National Privacy Commission has put out a consumer portal. I think starting with the first 1 million senior citizens, pwede na nilang i-check sa National Privacy Commission kung kasama sila dun sa nalik na data. Pero I think the intention is over time, as more and more of the data is confirmed, ilalagdag dun sa portal na yon. Pero hindi lang naman PhilHealth yung naging breaches natin. We had breaches with the PSA, the DOST, the PNP at the very least. No? And then, more recently, nagkaroon ng mga defacements sa Congress. Basically, binaboy ng mga hacker yung website ng Philippine Congress. So yan, so medyo sunod-sunod ang mga incidents natin, and actually the irony is this is Cybersecurity Month. So talagang Cybersecurity Month siya kasi sa dami ng mga nangyayari ngayon. One cannot help but be reminded of yung mga cyber threats na nag-encounter.
Maraming salamat po dyan. Oo, this, as I said, aside from Oktoberfest, it's Cybersecurity Month this year. So, sa ating mga listener, every October, ito yung sinasabing Cybersecurity Month upang ipalaganap po natin yung awareness sa ating mga kababayan. Sa Australia, we have same Cybersecurity Month. Meron po kaming sariling Ministry of Cybersecurity that handle everything po for sa government. So, ang unang tanong ko, Doc Ligot, because recently Philippines ranked 20 out of 161 country with total of 207,688 link account in the second quarter of 2023. Ito yung pinalabas na data from isang Surfshark VPN company. Ano pong masasabi niyo doon?
Well, hindi na yan bago sa atin. I mean, even as early as 2020, medyo nasa top 10 na tayo of countries that have been either attacked or have suffered a cyber breach. Well, it just points to the urgency na kailangan na natin tampanan, which is to improve yung security of the Philippines. Kasi nga, pinapupiestahan tayo ng mga hacker. Not just in local hackers, but also international hackers. Yung mga ganyan ng incidents that we have.
So, what is the current major cybersecurity threat facing the Philippines right now?
Well, samot-sari. For example, kaya naman nahahack yung government portals. And yung mga nakikita natin sa news, these are not the full extent of attacks that are happening every day. No? I think what made the PhilHealth and the PSA hack particularly newsworthy is ito yung may hawak ng data ng taong bayan in Philippines. Kaya na-alarm ng maraming tao. But these attacks happen every day. Many of them are reported pero hindi na sabay. As I mentioned, it just drives the urgency needed with serious investment into cybersecurity. Hindi lang sa technology but also sa tao. Kasi according to another report, we only have probably no more than 200 or no more than 300 cybersecurity experts for a population of 100 million. So medyo understaffed, undermanned tayo across the board. Investment into cybersecurity. Hindi lang sa technology but also sa tao. Kasi according to another report, we only have probably no more than 200 or no more than 300 cybersecurity experts for a population of 100 million. So medyo understaffed, undermanned tayo across the board.
So sinasabi mong kulang sa staff pero kulang din sa technology. Can you provide yung cybersecurity landscape natin ngayon sa Pilipinas? What's the landscape? Are we behind? Are we far behind? Or we are trying to get up to date? You know, because in cybersecurity, there's a lot of new technology, even AI. We use AI to do detection and threat hunting.
Yeah, I think it starts muna with the culture. For example, if you look at the PhilHealth leak, that entire episode was a case study in what not to do. Number one, the government didn't take the threat seriously when it came out. Ano kasi yan eh, it was a ransomware attack. Pag sinabing ransomware, a group of hackers steal your data and then normally ni-encrypt nila yung natira or dinidelete. So in the case of PhilHealth, thankfully hindi naman nila ginawa, but we still got the database. And they were threatening to leak it kung hindi sila bayaran ng $1,000. Of course, in theory, you should not really endorse paying the ransom. Pero you should at least find out paano ba nakuha yan, ano ba yung mga vulnerability. Until the last day, it appeared that PhilHealth wasn't taking the threat seriously. In fact, you can check the reports. On the day of the deadline, binigyan kasi sila ng ilang days to pay the ransom. Hindi, i-leak na raw nila yung data. Yung mismong presidente pa ng PhilHealth, na hinahamon pa niya yung mga hackers. Sige, release nyo yan. Tingnan natin kung totoo yan. Probably it's a fabricated data set. So, yung ganyang attitude is unbecoming of public servants when you're trying to protect yung data ng taong bayan. And then, after so release na nga. Nakapost na siya all over the place. Nakapost siya sa dark web. Nakapost siya sa Telegram. Anyone can download it. It's a big data set. You shouldn't, by the way. No? That's cybercrime if you're in possession of these data sets. So, ang unang sambit ni PhilHealth at the moment na na-release na is wala namang member data na kasama. Zero members. And then over the next few weeks, paiba-iba na yun niya. From zero, naging 800 members, naging 1 million senior citizens, naging 13 million members, and now the latest figure is 20 million. Could be more. So, from a communication standpoint, very clear na PhilHealth was not equipped to communicate the problem. And then later, lumalabas na yung totoo na apparently mga antivirus pala nila are all expired because hindi daw in-approve ng procurement. Well, things like that. It's just tragic and it's tragic and it's just gross negligence if you ask me. Kasi little things like procurement, dapat hindi yan hadlang, no, to getting your cybersecurity in order. I mean, if you know how procurement works, they work on a budget. Bakit haharangin ng procurement yan? Hindi ba yan na budget? Or hindi na organize yung mga bidders, walang supplier, something like that. It points to a fundamental failure of processes. And buti sana kung ano lang yan, it's just an expired software. Pero the price to pay is yung data na ng mga tao are out there. And as I said, it's a cultural problem because up until the last minute, even the DICT says no sensitive data was leaked. Pero yung data na na-leak, by this time, everyone knows, are personally identifiable information. Cell phone numbers, emails, names, birthdays. That's your life, no? Kung na-leak yan. And I think mga tao din are not too worried na, so what kung na-leak yan? Ang daming possibilities na pwede mangyari dyan. Your identity can be stolen. Pwedeng somebody can request a SIM replacement. Yun yung pinaka-dangerous attack, yung SIM swapping. Kunyari, ikaw, Miko, nakuha ko yung number mo, nakuha ko yung ID mo, nakuha ko yung email mo. Then I'll call, you're based in Australia. I can just call your mobile provider in Australia. Hi, I'm Miko Santos. I lost my cell phone. Can I request for a replacement SIM card? They will probably mail it to me sa Australia. Ganun, di ba? You can get it by mail. Sa Pilipinas, you have to go in person, pero anyone can impersonate anyone. And then the moment I have a replacement SIM, I've got your life. Kasi I can reset your email, I can reset your Facebook, I can reset your e-commerce, I can reset your mobile banking. One day you wake up, yung buong digital identity mo nakuha na ng mga hacker. So that's sensitive. Pero up until the last minute, the government says it's not sensitive. Same banana rin sa PSA. Ang linya nila, it's just a community-based monitoring system. Mga research data lang yan. Yes, pero kasama yung mga logins, yung mga tao ng CBMS na na-leak. PNP, similar. So, I think it just points, kaya nga the organization I set up is called Data Ethics. We need to fundamentally rethink the importance of data in our lives. Data is our life, basically. We live in data. At katulad na yun, we're watching this on social media. Kung wala kang data, then we won't be able to see this. Pero hindi pa rin tayo, at least in the Philippines, hindi pa rin ito na yung mga tao thinking of data as important. I think that needs to change.
So, Doc Ligot, question with, wala ba sa Pilipinas like a strict policy on privacy? We know we have National Privacy Commission. Do we have like a strict policy on handling your data? Because other country like Australia, they're very strict with the data policy. They are very strict. If there's a data breach, they need to tell the government within 24 hours we have this data breach, and they're gonna coordinate with the, like in Australia, they have to coordinate to cybersecurity department here, the government, to check it, Australian Cybersecurity Center, to help them to mitigate everything.
Yeah, we have a similar law. It's called the Data Privacy Act. It's what created the National Privacy Commission. And we also have a cybercrime law, anti-cybercrime law. So these laws have been in effect since 2012, more than 10 years now. But I think medyo kulang because these laws, they're patterned after GDPR, which I'm assuming is the same basis for the Australian regulation. GDPR was the first one, which is the European Data Privacy Protection Act. Pero all just the same, these laws are, I would call, reactive. So a crime has to have happened first, and then the law takes over. You know what to do with the perpetrators, or you want to bring the data controllers to justice. For example, in the PhilHealth case, we have yet to hear anyone either losing their job or going to jail, but they were responsible for the data. So very clear yan sa batas. They're accountable. Pero what I meant by kulang is we need more proactive policies, preventive. Kumbaga, just like in your house, you have a fire extinguisher. You should not wait for a fire to happen and the fire department to arrive. You need to be proactive and have a fire extinguisher at home. And if you smell something burning, you take action agad. You look for anything. And then another thing that I talked about recently is people are used to doing disaster preparedness, earthquake drill, fire drill, ganun, di ba? But what about cyber drills? When do you do a cyber drill? Do you practice a cyber attack? Do you know the first 5 things you will do when you suffer a breach? So these are essential exercises. And walang kultura. There's no culture related to that. I even brought it up in a forum recently. And mismo mga information security people were wondering, what's a cyber drill? Some actually, many know the answer, but some didn't, which is also tragic if you ask me. So ganun, I think we have a privacy act, but that takes effect the moment there's a breach. We need policies that are more preventive and proactive in nature. And more importantly, we need to educate people, educate them on the importance of data privacy, data security, and ano yung mga implications if you lose your data to hackers. Yan, I think that's still lacking.
Napag-usapan natin yung education as well. Wala ba sa any business or government have their own set of policy ng education, cybersecurity awareness program para malaman ng mga empleyado nila or just education to how to handle it? Because in Australia, they have their own set of program that every month the employee kailangan mag-aral sila ng ganitong cyber awareness, or meron silang set ng team for just education. They also set ng team din na to handle any cyber threat, because pag meron data breach, hindi mo sinabi, they have like at least I think $50 million penalty if you didn't secure the data, especially kung mga customer mo. Sa Pilipinas po ba, meron po bang ganun na bawat government department, bawat business, they have their own set of cybersecurity expert to handle all the data?
Well, I can't say for sure if every agency has one, but every agency should have one. And then, yun na nga, I think kulang yung proactive policies. There are programs by the government. So yung mga in charge dyan would be the DICT, for example, the National Privacy Commission also. There's also a CICC, which is a cybercrime focus. No? And then you also have the law enforcement agencies, PNP, AFP. They all have their cybercrime. NBI, they all have cybercrime departments, cyber labs. So hindi tayo nagkukulang sa structure. I think it's more of a compliance issue. Like every year, like last year, nag-conduct ng cyber drill ang government. There's a cyber emergency response team under the DICT. They conducted a nationwide cyber drill. Pero to what extent all of the agencies were involved, compliance yan, I can't say for sure. I don't even know if PhilHealth joined it. So yun nga parang I think it's more of the coverage which is linked to the culture. Kung talagang siniseryoso ng mga tao yan, in the same way, you can't renew your business permit if you don't have a working fire extinguisher. At least sa Philippines, ganun, no? Ini-inspect yan ng fire department. Dapat may ganyan din siguro for cybersecurity. You can't renew your business permit if you don't have a working cybersecurity policy. Ang data privacy officer, mandatory requirement na yan sa lahat ng business. But there are aspects of security na hindi covered ng data privacy. See, your systems can be breached with or without personally identifiable information. The only time the DPO comes in is pag may personal information na nadali. So, there's a little bit of a gap there. Kailangan. Of course, we can always say dapat the data privacy officer takes charge of cybersecurity. Pero those are slightly different disciplines. DPO, karamihan ng mga DPO na namimit ko, mga abogado. And maybe rightfully so, no? Because they need to be experts in the law. Pero a security officer needs to be techie, someone who understands IT, systems, and also someone who understands people. How do you influence the employees to be more cyber aware? Medyo it's a tall order at the moment.
Yung question ko kanina is, yung the actual government, the Philippine government, do they really have like a framework for the cybersecurity awareness, education, or for threat? Like, because meron ba silang sariling framework na ginagaya? Like, we have NIST, we have ISO 2700, because this is part of, if you're framing a cybersecurity information, infosec, you have to follow the standard. For in Australia, they follow the standard of NIST, ISO 2700 if they're doing a policy or cybersecurity on their different company. Do we have like that in the Philippines?
Yeah, the Philippines has no shortage of frameworks. So as I said, you have the DICT, you have Republic Act 10844, and then yung Data Privacy Act 10173, yung Cybercrime Prevention Act 10175, and then yung mga NIST, mga ISO 27000, ano yan, covered. Those are all referenced by these mga law. I don't think we have a shortage of laws. Baka we have a shortage of personnel and maybe a shortage of training. Kasi ano nangyayari, you have a very, very small group of people who are highly knowledgeable about security. But the majority of the public sector, and I would say the private sector probably, are largely in the dark. Kaya, and again, it's a cultural problem. Parang hindi masyadong top of mind sa mga taong bayan about how vital data is. And yun na nga, the only way to do it is to start teaching people. Like, I don't know if cybersecurity is part of basic education. It certainly was not during my time, pero wala pa namang internet ng panahon ko. But I don't know now to what extent children are taught cybersecurity awareness habang bata. And yet, the moment they get out of the classroom, they're on their mobile phones, they're on their computers, they're on TikTok. So talagang behind ang awareness in terms of putting cyber in front. So yun, I would argue more for enforcement and education, and of course engineering, just to get all of the proper software set up, antiviruses, firewalls, VPNs. These are not common practice in any household. And then babalik din tayo sa ethics. Data ethics kasi, it's more than just compliance with the law. Ethics is also looking at risks and benefits, trying to balance. If you're going to do something, you might as well prioritize what's good rather than what's bad. And it's also about values. And values is sometimes abstract. It can be religious, it can be moral. Ang bottom line dyan, you put the human well-being at the forefront, and medyo divorced yung data from that right now in Philippines. Like the word data doesn't appear in the Constitution. Or it appears once pala. It's in the context of research. The word data does not appear in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Pero everything that has to do with human rights today has to do with data, diba? You don't have an ID, you can't get any basic services. Diba? So, data rights, yung mantra namin sa data ethics, data rights to human rights. And social problems are data problems. Kahit anong problema ngayon sa mundo, it has a data component. At di pa natin pinag-uusapan yung artificial intelligence dyan. Pag pumasok na yung AI, then lalong lalala if we're not really ready for it.
I totally agree. So, Wala pa silang mga is like risk management policy for this one. They should have like a risk management every time if there's a data breach or ongoing. Di- Wala ba mga risk management policy officer that look into on the system itself? So if there's a new system, do we need to get that? Do we need to upgrade that? So because there's a lot, as particularly sinabi mo AI, because some of the company who is selling anti cybersecurity or cybersecurity software like MediaNet or Cisco, they're using AI now to detect any unusual transaction on the system, on the network, like to make sure there's no man in the middle. Do they have that?
When you say risk management, marami naman types of risk management. Pag sinabi information risk management, like I said, merong departments for that, no? But that should actually be a role in every government agency. And I can't tell you right now if every government agency has one. Malamang that is subsumed under IT, general IT, which is okay sana, pero to be honest, hindi rin natin masabi to what extent general IT is trained in information security. Another thing that I feel is lacking is what we call risk communication, which is actually quite prevalent in the healthcare sector. Kunyari, during COVID, whenever you make an announcement about a pandemic, you have to balance kasi the information and the panic of the people. So you don't disclose everything, so you're going to scare everyone, but you can't disclose nothing. So that's also going to create suspicion. And yung current government approach, at least what we've seen, is to downplay and not disclose, which obviously has a negative effect. Kasi uuna namang kakalat na yung balita whether you disclose it or not. So you have to find a way of proactively managing it. I think that is just basing on the behavior of PhilHealth is lacking, either as a skill or as a proactive policy or proactive process. Pero yung mga sinasabi mo kanina, yung mga ISO 27000, meron yan, meron nang gumagawa niyan, merong mga framework yan. But maybe it's a compliance problem. Kaya nga ang isa sa suggestions ko recently was to do cyber drills. I-practice natin. Drill everyone. Check them at random, audit them at random. Para talagang ma-instill sa culture ng mga tao. Make it part of their performance evaluation. Na kung if you fail a cyber drill, that's tantamount to actually failing a cyber incident. Kasi would you rather just suffer the breach? Laking gastos yun pag may breach. Not just financially, but reputationally. Tsaka once the data is out, it's always out. Minsan may ganyang attitude din tayo narinig from some agencies na, yung data na yan, luma na yan. Yeah, pero kailan man nag-iba yung birthday mo? Kung nag-iiba yung birthday mo every year. Your birthday is out. It's out. Or for some of us, like I have one telephone number that's been around for 20 years. It's technically an old data, pero if it's out, it affects me up to now. So again, it's back to culture. The culture has to change, has to improve. And I feel then, I don't know kung manhid lang yung Pilipinas, pero these rankings are there for a reason. It's a way of naming and shaming the countries who need to improve. Kasi I think, as a whole, the world needs to improve in cybersecurity for us to ensure, yung digital backbone mo yan eh. Diyan nakabase yung buong economy mo, di ba? So if that's not secure, then it could paint the country in a very bad light. And then let's also not forget na the Philippines is, apart from being number whatever sa cyber, we're also one of the top destinations for BPOs. So US, even Australia, Europe, they send work to the Philippines. And the assumption there is Philippines is a secure place to send work. Like one time I heard parang 60% of Wall Street outsources to the Philippines. Wall Street, mga big investment banks. They have like JP Morgan Chase, Capital One from Canada. These are large banks sending work to the Philippines. And the the assumption there is if you're a financial institution, you're sending customer transactions and data to the country, the country has to be secure. So I have no doubt naman that the BPOs themselves are actually cyber ready. In fact, they're probably more ready than the government. Pero yun na nga parang it's more about the reputation of the country as a whole.
So, ano sa tingin nyo well, what's gonna be the solution for this? Medyo mahirap kasi sabi mo culture eh. So, how do we change the culture that they need to take care of their own data? It's very important.
Yeah, as I said, let's go back to the basics. Education needs to be in place with the trained people, both at the high end and the low end. At the high end, you need to produce more cybersecurity professionals. How you do it? Marami namang ways. You can get schools to offer degrees. You can incentivize it. Like in another capacity, I'm also part of the Analytics Association of the Philippines, and we cooperated with the government to launch a nationwide data science and analytics program called Sparta. We ran that for 3 years, and we produced almost 50,000 data literate professionals. It can be done. Hindi naman siya impossible. And that was more than all of the schools graduates going into data combined. Yung mga computer science, statistics, math, yan yung mga typical na pumunta sa data, sa IT, yung mga data professions. In that 3-year period, we produced more than all of the schools combined. So pwede. So maybe something like that for cyber. Okay? Now on the low end, yung sinasabi ko nga, we need to do cyber drills, we need to do awareness across the board. And maybe there needs to be some sort of a scorecard that agencies can abide by. Para they get both punished and incentivized. If they comply, then they're incentivized. If they don't comply, then they're punished. Wala kasing consequence. Like again, I'd love to use PhilHealth because they're the worst example. I have yet to hear if anyone lost their jobs in such a major data breach. Ang rinig ko, parang may linipat lang ng ibang trabaho. It's too soft, you know. You're para kang ospital and biglang nakidnap lahat ng mga baby sa maternity ward. Don't you think the hospital should go to jail if they lost babies? Parang ganun dapat ang level of urgency and alarm on losing data. People should take it seriously. So education is massive piece. And then going back, engineering also, we need to really invest in advanced cybersecurity, software, and also audit all of the government's current digital infrastructure. Karamihan ng mga breaches, the common denominator is it's an internet web portal. It's a website, like the PhilHealth website. Maybe the UST had the website, PSA also had the website. So these are all portals that are accessible online, no? Publicly. And naturally, every time you have something na publicly available, meron magta-try to hack it. That's normal. Pero what we're finding out is, maraming mga vulnerability dito sa mga portals na to. And in the past, are actually outdated, parang software. Yung programming languages are not updated or hindi protected yung mga input fields. Kasi that's a common place where a hacker can try to penetrate your system. Instead of putting name and password, they can start inserting all sorts of garbage into it, and then in the hope na baka biglang bubukas yung website. These are well-known vulnerabilities from way back. At naayos na yan in the more modern mga web stacks. Pero meron pa rin at merong mga government websites that are still vulnerable. Yung simple matter ng langov, if you're familiar with SSL, HTTPS, SSL encryption, you'll find government websites that are not encrypted.
Oh, okay.
And dati, ang complaint kasi may bayad. Pero if you think about it, the fee is very small for a commercial SSL. And you can even get an SSL for free. Merong mga free na security certificates. It's practically being given away just to ensure that the web traffic going in and out of that portal is encrypted. Ang counterintuitive kasi yung point ng encryption. Yung point ng encryption is in case merong kunyari, man-in-the-middle attack, they call it, hindi nila makikita kung ano yung tinatype mo dun sa website kasi encrypted. Kung hindi siya encrypted, kita na agad. Kunyari, somebody was able to penetrate that connection. Kita agad. Ito yung username, password, boolean. So, those things, engineering. Enforcement, I mentioned earlier, all the policies are reactive. We need proactive policies. Meaning, yung Data Privacy Act and Cybercrime Law, that's important pag meron ng breach. Pero let's put policies that prevent the breach. Like cyber exercises, cyber drills, compliance, education. How many of your staff have been given the awareness training? Parang ako dati, I worked for more than almost 2 decades in banking. Mandatory training sa amin yung money laundering. Kasi it's a culture you want to build in the bank. Kasi banks receive money. So you have to train your staff to anticipate dirty money coming in. Kasi baka i-ignore mo lang. So they really took the effort. And it should be a central bank requirement to have money laundering training. So ganyan din dapat sa cyber. May cyber training. Do it as often as possible. Siyempre may cost. Siyempre people are gonna complain about the cost. Pero parang insurance yan eh. Would you rather pay the cost of the training or the cost of the breach? Diba? Parang yung math doesn't lie. And then finally, balik tayo sa ethics. I keep saying ethics, it should be a culture. You should put data at the forefront. We should equate data to human rights. We should look at the data component of any social problem. And that means also creating people whose careers are attuned to data. Ngayon, pag sinabi mong data sa typical tao, wala, it goes over their head. Napaka-IT naman yan. No. Everyone uses data platforms. You use social media, you use e-commerce, you use online banking. But you're not aware na data is important. Parang ganun lang yan. You have to match the risks and the benefits. You want the benefits of data, you have to know the risks para you can better prepare yourself. Yeah, ganun lang. I mean, it's not rocket science as they said, but it has to be done.
Yeah, so nasabi mo nga, Doc Ligot, is that ang Pilipinas is one of the most used na mga social media platform. So, particularly mga Facebook, they're more on, most of the kids nasa cellphone, nasa iPad. But why they not able to teach them early the important ng data nung kanila practices? Bakit kaya?
It's not in the curriculum. It's not in the curriculum. Parang, when was the last time you had, kasama rin yan yung disinformation. It's not taught in school. It should be basic education. At pagsimula pa lang. Parang dati, we had PE, di ba? Why do you have to have PE? Hindi ka naman magiging basketball player when you grow up. Pero who knows? Pero importante dyan yung physical health mo. Kaya ka nagba-basketball when you're a kid. I hated PE, pero now that I'm in my middle age, nakita ko yung value na sana pala I've been more physically active when I was young. So it's the same manner that you want to be cyber healthy, you have to teach children as early as their youth na importante itong mga bagay na to. I mean, yun na nga, it's counterintuitive siguro, pero ngayon tayo naghahabol.
Nabanggit mo, Doc Ligot, yung disinformation. How this gonna be a vital role, a play for disinformation itong cyber security?
Well, there are parallel problems. They may not even be directly related. Pero, for example, identity theft plays a role in disinformation. Kumbaga, kunyari, I have all of your data, all of your pictures. Then I can masquerade as Miko Santos. Diba? I can create a fake avatar or I can create a fake social media account with all of your details. So, hindi siya porque, pwede kang nakawan. That's one danger. But I can pretend, the hacker can pretend to be someone and impersonate someone and then use that account for anything, including this information. So, nandun yung link. So, kung pabaya tayo sa cybercrime, pabaya tayo sa cybersecurity, malamang at malamang lalaganap din yan. Like for example, yung tinatawag natin mga troll farms. Familiar with that? Yung mga
Yeah, yeah.
gumagawa, yung mga nagsispread ng hate speech. Binabayaran yung mga yan. Siyempre, to do that, you need accounts. You have to mass produce accounts. How would you do that if you don't have an identity? Kasi ngayon, stricto na yung mga social media platforms. So you can't create more than several accounts. Kung pwede, isa nga lang. But if you have access to 20 million PhilHealth members, that's 20 million accounts you can create on Facebook. Diba? Complete with picture, ID, email, telephone number. But yun na. You can now create 20 million trolls. I just think of it that way, no? Parang that data is very, very useful. It can be used for anything.
Apart from the AI that can deep fake you, or they can change your clone your voice as well, because we have an incident that they use a clone voice to persuade, like a phishing, persuade you to deposit like yung pera for this account dahil ganito, you need a loan, but they use your own voice. So medyo nakakabangan ngayon because of this AI. So yung AI, there's a lot of news na ginagamit yung different type, like the chat GPT. There is a fraud GPT, there's a scam GPT. So they using the AI now to as part of their cybercrime. What do you think about that? Do we need to regulate this kind of technology as well as part of the policy?
Well, kasama na yung AI, although it's not as popular now, it will eventually come. Pero babalik pa rin tayo sa yung data. I think data is the most important thing. Kasi if hindi naman na-leak yung data, then there's very little you can use AI for. And then yung balik din tayo sa culture, like isa sa mga pet peeve ko is I can see people who are quite generous with information online. Diba? They put their ID online. Oh, I have a new driver's license. Ito, andun yung details. Or you post everything about your life. Oh, graduation ko ngayon, birthday ko ngayon. I think there was this video clip, I think it came from Indonesia. Literally, they just looked at the Instagram feed of one person from start to finish. And they were able to complete a bank application form. Got the name, got the address, the mother's name, the birthday, the where do they work. Kasi lahat naka-pictures. Nafilapan nila buong So sabi nila, hackers are one problem, pero actually yung problema mismo yung mga tao, they donate their data freely online. So that needs to change. You need to be private about certain things. And then nakakatawa, di ba Facebook is one platform, LinkedIn is another one. LinkedIn is for professional networking. So I find it odd na sa LinkedIn, marami naka-private. Pero sa Facebook, naka-post na kumain sila ng palabok for lunch. You should be the opposite. You should be very open on LinkedIn kasi it's a professional market, networking site. So that the CVs and HR can know exactly what you've done. So you should not be private on LinkedIn. You should be private on Facebook kasi that's your personal life. So you see the culture. I don't know if in Australia ganun, pero sa Philippines, napansin ko. Parang lahat na lang, buong buhay mo na inabas mo sa Facebook, pero sa LinkedIn ayaw mo magpakita. Tapos nagtataka kayo kung wala kang trabaho. Yun lang.
That doesn't make sense. Kasi LinkedIn is for networking for job. So, any parting words, Doc Ligot, sa ating mga listener and sa ating mga nanonood ngayon at manonood mga team replay? What's your message to them?
Yeah, I think we have to start acting like we're already in the fourth industrial revolution. What does that mean? The fourth industrial revolution is the data revolution. So let's start acting like we live in a data-driven world, and data is important. Baga equate your data to your life. And then it follows. Everything follows. You're going to be careful about your data. You use your data responsibly. You can actually use data pa for social good. Diba? Pero yun nga parang hindi pa siya embedded. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, it's an age thing. Yung mga bata, mga Gen Z, mga Gen A, I think they're more attuned to the data landscape. But they have to be taught in school. Samantalang for the rest of us, mga Gen X, mga Boomer, to a certain extent, the Millennials, medyo kurang na, we grew up in a world before the internet. So we have a lot of realigning to do. A few of us know naman what we need to do, pero karamihan ng mga, especially the senior citizens, the boomers, they're completely clueless. Like my mother was scammed relatively recently, credit card niya, na spoof. Basically, tinawagan siya by people pretending to be the customer support ng banko niya. Napakaswabe ng script. Diba? Hi, Miko. This is Bank of Adelaide or something. We detected some suspicious transactions on your card. Could you hold while we perform a technical test just to check if your card is still working? Ito naman si Miko. Sige, sure. What do you need me to do? Okay, so Mr. Santos, we'll be sending you a few codes. Could you please check if you received them and tell us what the code was? Yung pala, yun na yung OTP mo. What they were doing was actually booking transactions on your card. Ikaw naman, super naive. Sige, here's the first code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, thank you, sir. We've already validated your card. It seems to be working fine. Thank you very much. Sorry for the inconvenience. And then when you receive your bill, 6 digits na yung bill mo. Max out na yung limit mo. And to the bank, it's legitimate kasi it used the OTP. Pero hindi top of mind yung one-time password sa mother ko. So nadali siya doon. Pero anong bottom line doon? How did they know what your credit card number was? How did they know it was your telephone number? How did they know who your name was? Malamang na-leak yung details mo in PhilHealth or some other data breach. So I just replayed to you what is a likely scenario that will happen in the coming months, coming years. Kasi all of that data is available. 20 million are citizens ng data nila. Karamihan doon senior citizens. Yan ang mangyayari.
So sabi mo nga, culture and education. Yan ang importanteng maayos. Doc Ligot, sa mga listener natin, sa mga audience, paano ka makakontak in case they want to have a chat with you about anything about data ethics, your online community, how they can coordinate with you?
Yeah, so I'm on every social platform. Just look for Doc Ligot or Dominic Ligot. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn. Recently, I also opened an Instagram, TikTok, and a YouTube channel. Please check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com at Doc Ligot. I have a lot of videos there about artificial intelligence, technology, pero done in a very layman approach. Hindi siya techie, nakakahilo. Or at least I try not to be. And again, yeah, just feel free to approach me on any platform if you have a question. And I also do interviews, parang ganito. Although ngayon ako naman yung interview, but I also do one-on-one interviews in and about. Usually it's about AI, but lately it's also about cybersecurity. So yeah, I hope to chat with everyone soon. And then please visit my website, docligot.com, so you can learn more about me. I'll also be launching a series of online training about AI. So please watch out for that.
Thank you so much for that. So, ayan. So, maraming salamat sa mga informasyon na yung binigay Doc Ligot. So, lahat ng mga sinabi ni Doc Ligot we'll put it on the show notes para mabisita niyo yung mga website niya. So, maraming salamat sa yung oras sa Doc Ligot. Okay, so maraming salamat. So, ayan. So, as I said, lahat po yan nasa show notes. So, just make sure na balikan nyo po yung show notes sa mga team replay. Lahat ng mga information, lagay natin doon. As I said, sabi nga ni Doc Ligot, data privacy. Your data is very important. So sa Australia nga, as I said, sa Australia, we are very strict with the data. Pag nagkaroon ng data breach, ikaw, kumpanya ka, malaking penalty para sa'yo. More than $50 million. So, the privacy ay kailangan talagang pag-ingatan. Maraming salamat po sa isang episode again ng Explain Why podcast. So, see you po sa susunod na episode. At maraming salamat po sa mga suporta ninyo at patuloy nyo pong pinapanood ito at suporta sa lahat ng platforms, especially sa podcast po na nakikinig po sa inyo. At maraming salamat po ulit. At enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much. See ya.